Welcome to Sexuality. Why do we need so many labels? Brought to you by the Rainbow Diversity Institute. We're a Black-owned company that assists in developing comprehensive diversity training strategies for individuals and corporations alike. You can learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. One of the questions that's pretty common when we're doing sexuality education and anti-oppression training is the question, don't labels just further divide us and reduce our identities to sex and sexuality and who we're having sex with? To which one might respond, I don't want to be assumed to be straight or expected to act like it, so I need different words and language for this. Let's dive in a little bit deeper and see what this really means. When we're looking at language, identity, and labels, we have to recognize that humans think and speak with words. That sounds obvious, but what it means is even when we're thinking quietly inside our head, it's generally taking the shape of words. That's how we conceptualize things. That's how we explore. That's how we communicate with ourselves and each other. If there is no label for something, if there is no word for it, we struggle to find ourselves. And we also struggle to find other people like us and build communities. Words are incredibly powerful and incredibly important to figure out and communicate who we are and to learn from others about who they are. So, guess who doesn't really need labels? People who are seen as normal often don't need to use a lot of specific labels because everyone is assumed to be like them until proven otherwise, because they're the norm, they're the majority. They're seen as more legitimate or more real or more expected or more appropriate. So even though there are labels like heterosexual or straight, there isn't such a wide range of labels to describe heterosexuality or straightness, or at least those labels aren't used very commonly. But that's because these are the norm. They're the cultural assumption. And so for people who don't match that, the wording becomes extra important, both in exploring and communicating to ourselves and to each other and finding community. So, what does a label communicate if it's more than just about sex? Well, a label communicates personal identity, community, similarities and differences. A whole bunch of history is inside labels: tradition, culture, pride, celebration, needs, strengths, knowledges, joys, struggles, targeted statuses, assumptions that have to be challenged, and so much more. A label isn't just one or two words. It carries a tremendous amount of really important meaning. Okay, then, well, maybe it just feels weird making everything about sex. Why do you have to communicate your identity by telling me who you hook up with or have sex with? Well, labels are mostly about identity and community. They're not so much about the erotic, although the erotic can be a part of it, and it's still important. And it's still important to straight people, too. Straight people flaunt their straightness and heterosexuality and straight culture all the time and don't even need a label to do it, especially when they're white, because that's seen as normative, most valued, better. There's countless examples of straight people flaunting their straightness and culture, pushing it in people's faces, and defining themselves by their sexuality and who they want to have sex with. But that's seen as normal, right, romantic, appropriate. It's really easy to find pictures of that, and they're not even eyebrow raising. The idea of a cute couple sitting together on a bench, a rose to symbolize romance, arms around each other, touching the bare leg, the legs over the other leg, like in the top picture, implies that this couple is most definitely having sex. And some people might be mildly uncomfortable with their public display of affection, but a lot of people would find it cute or sweet. It might make them want to do the same thing, especially if they're straight. Or this couple that's exchanging a kiss in public, taking a picture of it that they'll probably post online. And that's totally fine. Nobody's worried about that because they're straight. There's a lot of privilege in that. So the idea of flaunting can definitely go both directions. maybe we're just sexual beings and that's okay. The next time you're feeling overwhelmed by labels for sexuality, stop and explore your discomfort. Breathe and relax. It's okay that there's lots of words for lots of different things. Listen and stay present so that you can learn about what's being communicated and what's important. Recognize the history and politics that go into labels and why they matter. And remember the impact of straight privilege and what it means to be considered normal and to not be judged in these ways. Thank you so much for joining for Sexuality. Why do we need so many labels? I hope you'll learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca.